The argument of whether lures or natural baits are best when drop shot fishing for perch is one that comes up time and time again, and it is one that I don't think will ever be resolved. Which one is best divides several anglers, not least in my circle of angling buddies. During one of the friendly lures v natural bait debates, the subject of the Berkley Gulp range came up, which was strange because no one had ever fished with it. We had, of course, heard and read about Berkley Gulp baits, but no one had ever actually tried them. There are a few different Berkley Gulp baits out there, but with my passion for light lure fishing and drop shot fishing for perch in particular, the Berkley Gulp baits I am going to have a play with are the 1" stroke 2 cm. The Berkley Gulp Fry are supplied in a neat little pot full of a high attractant liquid. There looks to be quite a few lures in the pot, but I wanted to know exactly how many, so I decided to count them. There were 52 fry in the pot. This seemed a bit of an odd number to me, so I had to double check it. Maths was never my strong point. The recount confirmed there were indeed 52 lures in the pot, which makes the Gulp Fry excellent value for money. It is meant to be the smell of the gulp juice that makes the fish go wild for Berkley Gulp baits, so before putting one on the hook and casting it out, a sniff test is in order. I had read the gulp juice is very potent, so I was expecting a proper stench, but this didn't happen when I removed the lid. The gulp juice does smell, but it isn't half as strong as I was expecting it to. I did in fact stick the pot right under my nose for a proper sniff, and it still wasn't too bad. The smell of the gulp juice is difficult to describe, and whilst it may not be uber strong and offensive, it does linger, and once you get it in your nostrils, you won't get rid of it. Similarly, if you get the gulp juice on your hands or clothes, washing with hot water is the only way you will get rid of that too. I was in two minds on how to rig the Gulp Fry, and my initial thought was to use the drop shot method, but a few comments from other anglers on social media suggested jigging would be best. The majority won, and I decided to use a jig head. Because of my problems with the Fox micro jig heads, feel free to check out my video, I decided to use a VMC round hook and a 2 g Crazy Fish flex head. Living in the heart of the Norfolk Broads, I have lots of water to choose from to try out the Berkley Gulp Fry, and I've decided to fish the River Bure in South Horsham. Jigging with the Gulp Fry is no different to jigging with any other small plastic lure, and it is a case of casting and retrieving the lure in an enticing manner. The Norfolk Broads are full of pike, and when using lures it is often necessary to use a wire trace. However, I don't think pike will be a problem using the Gulp Fry, so I am not going to bother using one. Even though the Gulp Fry is a very potent smelling plastic lure that once the smell gets in your nostrils stays there for a long time, it does need changing. After several casts and retrieves, the mini fry did lose its aroma, but this is to be expected. To be totally honest, I was surprised the smell lasted so long, and I did regularly sniff the first mini fry I used to see when I needed a fresh lure. Even though the Gulp Fry lost its aroma, they were still intact and usable, so rather than throw them away I simply put them back in the gulp juice to give them a recharge to use at a later date. Despite fishing the River Bure for just under 3 hours, I couldn't tempt a nibble using the Gulp Fry. Many anglers would write off the Gulp lures as a waste of time and money at this point, however, I am not going to give up on them so soon. Blanking, i.e. not catching, is all part of fishing, and just because I blanked it doesn't mean the Gulp Fry don't work. It is more likely I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it is for this reason I need to do some further testing with the Gulp Fry before concluding whether they are any good or not. During my session I fished the Gulp Fry on a jig head, which I now don't think is the best way of rigging them. Rather than listen to social media, I should have stuck to my gut instinct and used the drop shot method, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. The next time I use Gulp Fry, and there will be a next time, I'm going to fish them using the drop shot instead of a jig head. Whilst changing the lures and putting them back in the pot to recharge them for use at a later date, I did have a thought. Ideally, I would set aside the used lures and clean them up at home before returning to the gulp juice. This would stop any cross-contamination. I obviously can't do this on the riverbank because the lures dry out and shrink. The only way I could overcome this is to have a separate pot of gulp juice solely for the used lures to be cleaned up at home. This is something I'm going to have to look into. This has only been part 1 of testing the Berkley Gulp Fry lures, and I'm going to give them another go, but it will be at a different stretch of water and rigging them differently. All I can say is, watch this space. I need to point out that I was not paid to create this video, and neither was I given any Berkley Gulp Fry to test. I had to part with my own hard-earned money to get my hands on the Gulp Fry. All thoughts and opinions are my own, and as you can see, based on my own personal experience.